Good morning. Welcome to Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Alan Gann. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. I'm joined by our worship leader, Reverend Chris Rothbauer, whose pronouns are they, them, their. And we're excited to welcome you to our worship service this morning. We're glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or virtually, whether you're here for the first time or whether you've been here for longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. I've been in both those categories. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome among us. Please join us, please be our guests after the service for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall. Today we're celebrating Oud, which is the end of Ramadan, and there are some very delicious looking snacks out there. So hurry and be first in line. As a community, we also welcome the sharing of joys and sorrows and concerns. You are welcome to fill out a joys and sorrows slip on the table in the entrance or maybe in the pocket in front of you, and there's some on this table here. And you're also welcome to light a candle for any of your joys and concerns in your heart. And this can be done at any time before the service or in service from the beginning through the offertory. As we prepare for the service this morning, take a moment to set your cell phones and other electronic devices to worship mode. One announcement, you can sign up for the Seder outside there. It's going to be April 11th at 7 p.m. And so we have one more Sunday, this and one more Sunday to sign up for the Seder.
Our call to worship this morning is from Chad A. Snyder. We truly know far less than we think we do, but let us know this much. We are not alone in our joy, in our loss, in our quiet, daily, blessedly ordinary moments. We are not alone. A small truth maybe in a vast and rapid world, but let us hold that truth and trust it as we hold and trust the joys, the sorrows, and moments shared in this space we make holy.
Our chalice lighting this morning is from Julian Lepp. We light this chalice with hope, a sturdy flame we nurture in these difficult times. We light this chalice with the heart of compassion for a nation divided by politics and strife. We light this chalice, knowing that it will take all of us to repair this world we live in. May we find rest, compassion, and the hope that we need to nurture ourselves and each other. May we be sturdy light. May this sturdy light remind us of the people we can be and the difference we can make in this world. Now, please join me in our affirmation, which is printed on the back of your order service and projected on the screen behind me. As we say together, love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. Now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in the singing of our opening hymn, hymn number 1 in the gray hymnal, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never cry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. He shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drowned, a raucous shout, and only sheltering walls are thin. May they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Horizon works in many, many ways to support our local community. And some of the ways we do that are donating to the MetroCrest Services Pantry, by donating to the pantry in our parking lot. And also there's something recent that we're doing. Just a moment, please. I'm gonna get my facts straight before Our sacred class, which is an adult class about reproductive justice, is collecting items for the Truth Pregnancy Resource Center, which is run out of the First Unitarian Church of Dallas. They are looking for monthly menstrual hygiene products and many other products, and you can go see that in the newsletter. So those donations can be put, I believe the sacred class has a donation box out in the lobby, as does MetroCrest, or the MetroCrest donations can go here. So I'm going to be calling up my helpers to the chancel now. And helpers, would you please stand opposite someone wearing the same color as you? And while they do that, I wondered if there was a young person that might sit up front here and count for me. And this is our worship associate, Alan, and Alan's going to help you. Does anybody want to come up and help count? Oh, okay, we got one person back there in the tie-dye shirt. Can you come on, sit up over here? All right, so you're making sure that you're with somebody that is like the same color as you? Oh, and what I'll need you to do, volunteer, is actually sit here. All right? All right, I promise you there is a method behind my madness over here. So, okay, folks on the chancel, I'm gonna give you each a ball, and what I'd like you to do is throw it back and forth. And now this is your job. I want you to keep your eyes on the people on the white team, okay? You're gonna count how many times people on the white team catch the ball. All right, folks on the chancel, I want you to toss it gently back and forth. If it rolls off or, go ahead and just go get it and continue playing. And so we're gonna let that roll out for a couple of moments before we do something else. All right, so here, I'm gonna give this one to you. There you go. All right, would you go ahead and get started and go? Okay. And you can move around too a little bit more and make it a little bit more interesting. All right. Okay. Oh, yes, that's quite interesting. Okay, it's all fine. All right, keep going, keep going. And we can have some other things going on. Okay, oh gosh, look at that white team go. They have excellent ball handling skills, don't you think? All right, keep going. Oh, no, keep going. It's just as many times as you count it. Okay, keep going, keep going. How about a couple more times? 3, 2, 1, and stop. Okay, did you all count how many times the white team touched the ball? Okay, will you two consult and let us know how many times you think it was? Okay, it was either 34 or 35, and I think that's about right. Thank you so much. Now, you all, my helpers, can you just stand here? I had some questions for you. So we knew how many times the white team touched the ball. I want to know, how many of you already knew about this experiment? It's a very famous psychological experiment, okay? So let me tell you about it. In 1999, 2 Harvard psychologists, Drs. Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabas, conducted this experiment about attention. Almost half of the observers did not see things that were happening on the stage, or in the video it was. So, like for instance, would you raise your hand if you saw something unusual? How about our lady back there in blue with the red necklace? Oh, yeah, Elliot wore a mask. Elliot, do you mind? Oh, good, yes, thank you, yes. And actually, in the video, in the real experiment, a guy in a gorilla suit came out, pounded into the chest, and then went back out. All right, so that's right. And I would say, excuse me, so what they found is if you are paying very close attention to something, you will often fail to notice other things going around, even if they're happening right in front of you. I have another thing too. Did somebody see something else happen up here that was unusual? Oh, what did you see? Oh, he just handed it to another guy? Oh, that's not what I intended, but that happened. And there was something else that happened. Oh, way back there in the white sweater. Oh, so they changed places? Yeah. Who noticed? Camilla, can you come out? Did anybody notice Camilla disappear midway through the game? Some people did. Yeah, very good. So I knew you would know about this experiment, so I wanted to throw some things, some curveballs in there and everything. So today's worship theme is, can we trust our neighbors? So as you go through your week, I wonder if you can think about the results of this experiment and how it applies to your life and how you see others, especially those maybe on the other side. I'm wondering if we can ask ourselves, am I really seeing my neighbors as they are? Or am I missing something? Am I paying attention? And so I wonder during the week if you could stop and notice what is keeping you from seeing others as they really are. So thank you so much. Thank you, helpers. And now we're going to go ahead and sing the kids out to their classrooms.
Mind be open to learn.
know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. And we are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure that the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering today to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. We offer a special thank you to our members and friends who give and pledge electronically. And if you would like to give electronically, you may do so either online or on the Breeze app, either one. The Offertory will now be joyfully given and received. Thank you for your generosity.
The reaches of the mind, there find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined, like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join in love expanding. The message of peace will rise in flight, taking the weight of the world upon its wings in the oneness of is in the dance of trees who stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, and a mysteries can be believed. Songs of lives long past that touch our own are written in the earth ever giving, and now to maintain the harmony gives to us all lives worth living. Of everything.
A reading from Charles Feltman. Trust is choosing to risk making something you value vulnerable to another person's actions. Distrust is when what is important to me is not safe with a person in this situation or in any situation.
The award-winning 2023 French film Anatomy of a Fall initially reads as a classic crime story. Samuel, a man living with his wife and son in rural France, is dead, and the police are there to sort out what exactly happened to him. What quickly becomes apparent is that the answer isn't immediately clear. Samuel fell from an upstairs window that would have been difficult for him to accidentally fall from, and in the dead of winter when the window wouldn't have been open for ventilation. The viewer is presented with two options. Either Samuel killed himself or he was murdered, and the only person who could possibly have killed him is his wife, Sandra. To complicate matters even more, there's evidence that points to both scenarios. Samuel was depressed prior to his death, and his family life was unhappy, but his psychiatrist insists he wasn't unstable and never spoke of suicide, despite Sandra reporting a previous attempt at overdose. On the other hand, Sandra was deeply unhappy in her marriage and living situation, and in a relationship becoming increasingly more abusive and violent. But would she, a woman of much smaller stature than her husband and without as much upper body strength, have been able to push him through the window? The majority of the movie seeks to answer these questions as Sandra is put on trial for murder, which she insists, of course, that she didn't commit. The uncertainty of how Samuel died leads to deep divisions, both in their local community and their family, as Samuel and Sandra's 13-year-old son Daniel tries to figure out if his mother could be capable of what she was accused of. Like Daniel, the viewer is taken down multiple roads of evidence, and it's difficult to know what to believe, even as Sandra seems sincere in her insistence that she did not murder her husband. Now, I'm hoping you all will go home and watch this at some point, so I'm not going to tell you everything that happens, because then I'll have some upset people at me. But there is a resolution to the trial and to the movie, but it's deliberately unsatisfying, leaving the door completely open as to whether the police and the trial got it right or how Samuel died. And in the end, Anatomy of a Fall is a meditation asking us to examine how we know what we know. How do we know what is true? And what happens when we're deceived by what we thought we knew? Or worse, it's not clear what the truth is. What does trust even look like in a situation where the only person who knows the truth is someone whom it's not clear we can trust? As I was thinking about this service, I was thinking a lot about the limits of human knowledge and Anatomy of a Fall and how they impact trust. I don't know how much you all follow true crime, but it's become very cliche recently to quote the statistic about how unreliable eyewitness evidence is. We see things every day that we're with our own eyes and we're wrong about it, despite not lying about it. Certainly, Daniel, much like the viewer of the movie, spends most of the movie frozen in distrust, not sure what he can trust, what parts of his knowledge are true. Everything he thought he knew about his life had been turned upside down, and no one is sure what comes next. How can he know whether he can trust his mother, his closest living relative? And what does it mean for him if he cannot? In this national moment, I think we find ourselves often in a similar situation. Over the last decade, I've heard so many stories of people's despair because they find out that a family member, friend, or neighbor they thought they could trust supports a politician who wants to enact policies that would harm them, their loved ones, or the wider world, despite no other indication that they believe this way. When I was growing up, it was still a given in my neighborhood that you were supposed to be able to trust your neighbors, even if they voted for someone different from you. It feels for many of us like something drastic has shifted, and I've heard people say they don't know who they can trust anymore. But I want to throw a wrench in that. What if that trust was an illusion all along? What if, like Daniel, we've been assuming what we can and can't trust because we have to live our lives. After all, I'm aware that my white privilege meant I didn't have to worry about whether my family or I would be accepted in a working-class southern Indiana neighborhood in the early 1980s when many people still thought Martin Luther King Jr. was a scoundrel. There was never any question we had a right to be there. Sure, there were other factors that kept me from full acceptance, but it was easy to believe the cultural stories for most of my childhood. And yet every true crime documentary I've ever watched has someone who says, "I can't believe the person did that. How could they commit so horrible of a crime? I thought I knew them." The person was capable all along. It's just that they did a good job of blending in, of projecting an aura that radiated trust. When that trust was broken, people around them are left to pick up the pieces and figure out how they could have been so ignorant to the person's true character. Were there clues all along that they missed, or did something drastically change in their loved one? I want to propose that much like the multiple possible stories in Anatomy of a Fall, what's changed is more of us are able to see different possibilities. As the country has become more and more polarized, it's easy to recognize that things aren't necessarily the textbook happy ending we thought they were. It's easier to see the character of people when they no longer feel the need to hide it. Well, at least that's part of it. I think the other half is that much like young Daniel, many people in our nation are searching for what is true and unsure what to believe. Imagine right now you lived in a conservative community, surrounded by conservative friends and family, and went to a conservative church. When the claims come up that vaccinations are bad and cause all manner of harm, you have to decide whether to believe the people you think you can trust, or if you can believe what the distant government and medical researchers who you already don't trust for other reasons say about the matter. Like Daniel, you have to figure out what is really true. And don't get cocky if you're on the left either. We're all guilty of it as well. I remember when people were first getting COVID vaccines and the pagan teacher Starhawk went along with the social media trend of posting herself getting her COVID vaccine. And how many people lashed out at her afterwards, telling her she didn't understand her own teachings. Her response was, "Y'all, I'm old. If I don't get this vaccination, I could die." And yet, there were people who believed they knew what was better for Starhawk than she did because they had chosen what to believe. I'm always amazed by people on the left willing to condemn the conspiracy theorists on the right, but who have no problem embracing such fanciful stories about what they believe. No, we're all capable of getting it wrong because we have a brain that gets it wrong constantly, looks for patterns that aren't there. Because we're each constantly being told multiple stories about the way the world works that could all be true or none of it, and how the people around us function. And every day, whether subconsciously or not, we each have to become amateur detectives in an effort to figure out who we can trust. And we all get it wrong sometimes, either in one way or the other. So, this is my question for you to think about as we go into the next part of the service. How can we function in a world where it's not so obvious who we can trust and who we can't? And I invite you to join us in our doxology. You'll find the words projected on the screen behind me. We take time now to honor the sorrows and joys of this community, knowing that we are all interconnected and that what affects one affects us all. Today is the last day of Ramadan, called, I hope I get this right. Please forgive me if I do. Oud al-Fitr. Thank you, Alan. Please join us after the service for a reception with sweets. Starting tomorrow, we recognize April as Parkinson's Awareness Month. At least 1 million people in the U.S. suffer with Parkinson's disease, including some who attend this church. This is the second most common neurological disease after Alzheimer's. If you see someone struggling to walk or get out of a chair, consider asking if you can extend a helping hand. And a joy, Monday is Transgender Visibility Day. Please support during this time when many are feeling vulnerable. A joy from Jessica Hills, my rainbow baby turned 1 year old this month. And a joy, Kristen and Eric Cummings celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary earlier this month. A sorrow from Alicia. My stepdad is in rehab after a heart attack and stroke. Please send him love. And a sorrow from David Lobach. Molly is having unexplained vision problems in her right eye. And we light a candle this morning to honor all the joys and sorrows which have gone unspoken and reside only in our hearts. Please join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation in whatever way feels right with these words from David Breeden. It will be followed by a moment of silence, which will be broken by our responsive hymn, number 1013 in the Teal hymnal, Open My Heart. Of human wrangling there is no end. Endless struggles engulf us. Where do we find hope? There is trust in words that have been spoken, despite all the words that have been hurled. We find meaning talking with each other. We weep until the pillow is soaked. The air swallows all of our tears. Our solace is our words to each other. We trust in our striving. We trust in each other. We join in striving. We join in trusting. Blessed be.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
A reading from Walter Anderson. We're never so vulnerable as when we trust someone, but paradoxically, if we cannot trust, neither can we find love or joy.
This is roundup. This is low-flying panic attack. Sing a song on the jukebox that goes. Burn the witch. Burn the witch. We know. Red crosses on wooden doors. If you float, you burn. Loose talk around tables. Abandon all reason. Avoid all eye contact. Do not react. Shoot the messengers. This is a low-flying panic attack. Sing a song of sixpence that goes. Burn the wind. We know
When we first adopted our dog, Cashew, he was a skittish fellow. We don't know his history, but we suspect that there was some abuse or mistreatment, as he didn't immediately trust people. In fact, he could be downright frightened at the time, to the point that one of his first acts when I brought him home was to slip out of his harness and run to try to find his foster mom, because he was afraid of this person, me, whom he didn't know. Once I got him inside and showed him that I was a good person by offering him pets and probably more treats than I should have for that day, he quickly warmed up to me. And similarly, Calvin, after barking at Calvin as a intruder coming home after just getting used to his new apartment. Today, we have a dog who, though he once might have been skittish around new people, wants to meet everyone and sees humans as generally good. And in fact, it's almost a joy just to bring him to the dog park and watch his face as he just runs around being the social butterfly, meeting everyone. If you've had a Zoom call with me and I've been at home, you've probably seen him invading it. Ernest Hemingway once said that the best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them. Now, this quote annoyed me when I first saw it in the Soul Matters material. I'm not one who automatically defends Ernest Hemingway. But the more I think about it, the more I think there's some truth to it. Untrustworthy people don't come with a mark on their forehead to tell us in advance we shouldn't get caught up with them. It's easy to get caught up in narratives of who we can trust, when really it's impossible to know for sure in advance. Sometimes the only way to know who I can trust is like my dog, to take an educated guess on who the good people are. After all, he's likely to meet another bad human in his lifetime, but hopefully it won't quell his trust that he's developed. On the other hand, Maya Angelou also offered wisdom when she said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." The core message here is to judge people by their actions and believe them. If a person does something untrustworthy, maybe you shouldn't immediately put your trust back in them, hoping they will change. That's like the poor lab rat who goes back and keeps getting zapped over and over again while hoping this will be the time they'll reach the piece of cheese, hoping something will be different this time. These two quotes by Hemingway and Angelou are seemingly contradictory, but there's a core message here that I think can teach us how to think about trust with those in the wider world. There are people out there who don't have our best intentions at heart. Given the opportunity, they would harm us, whether emotionally, spiritually, or physically, to get what they want. Maya Angelou's message is we shouldn't be naive. People's actions show us whether we can trust them or not, because those actions come from their deepest motivations. I'm sure if we had been mean or angry towards my dog, he wouldn't have trusted us, because he understands this principle all too well. On the other hand, at some point, I have to risk being betrayed if I can find anyone I can trust. I can't read minds, and I will get it wrong at times, but when my trust is misplaced, I will pick my heart off the floor and learn from my mistake. So hopefully it won't happen again in the future. I don't keep trusting someone who's shown me they can't be trusted, but I don't close my heart to the possibility of trusting someone else, which might be the hardest part, since anyone who's had their trust broken can probably testify to the doubts it raises for the future. If you want a good lesson in how to trust, you should try going through the ministerial search process at some point. When I try to explain it to people who have nothing to do with our denomination, I'm like, it's like you've got Tinder, except it's congregations. You're swiping left or right and hoping they swipe left or right as well. And then somehow, based on a weekend together, a couple interviews, and a week, you have to decide whether you're going to uproot your entire life and move to be with this new people. Sure, they pay for it, but still, it's pretty vulnerable. There aren't many other ministerial jobs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area if it failed. And yet, if I hadn't trusted a bunch of people that I didn't know very well yet, I wouldn't be here today. And as I'm coming up in June on the anniversary of my second year with you all, I'm so glad I did. What I've decided over the years that my default position is to try to get an Aristotelian happy medium between not trusting at all and trusting anyone. I don't go in assuming other people are untrustworthy unless they show me that ahead of time, and sometimes they're kind enough to do that. I assume good intentions, but I also don't lead with all my deepest, darkest secrets. If you've ever committed a crime you haven't been charged with, it's probably not good to lead with that with people in a new setting. Or anything that could endanger my family, my friends, or me, such as gender identity in this current climate or immigration status. I can't get by without interacting with strangers, so I let them show me that I can trust them, and then I might believe that I can open up to them to other things safely. At the same time, even people who don't deserve my trust do deserve basic human rights, such as the necessities of life: food, water, shelter, clothing, medical care. So I still put an ethic of love at the center. I want a world where everyone has what they need to survive. Doesn't mean I'm inviting them to Thanksgiving dinner, and it doesn't mean I throw common sense out the window. I must continue to live life, knowing that sometimes caution is warranted when trust hasn't yet been earned. And that's the key for me. Centering love doesn't mean decentering my safety or embracing false trust. It means centering an ethic that respects everyone's rights and needs, including my own, to mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual safety. Yes, there are some people who it is easy to tell you can't trust. But it may be true that, like Sandra in Anatomy of a Fall, it's difficult to know the minds of people most of the time. This was one of the classic conundrums of philosophy and psychology. How do we know people are telling us the truth? And the only answer I can give is sometimes you can't. In the end, maybe what we each need is to do our best. And sometimes that means trusting even when it's uncertain what the result is going to be. And sometimes it's knowing when not to trust. It's important to know that we, each of us, will get it wrong on both sides of the equation, and we'll need to go back and learn. But maybe that's all beside the point. Maybe the point in the end is that communities flounder without trust, as we're finding out in our national dialogue right now. Maybe what we need to do is to find the people we can trust and build pockets that have the potential to transform the wider world. Because if we're all just walking around mistrusting everyone we meet on the street, we're never going to be able to heal the rifts that have appeared in this country. As usual, I'm not sure I'm completely satisfied with that answer, and I suspect some of you aren't either. And that's okay too. I'm living in that uncomfortable reality. And maybe in the end, the best advice I can give each of us is let's do our best. May it be so.
We extinguish this chalice, we extinguish this flame, but not our commitment to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We do this because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, hymn number 1012 in the Till hymnal, When I Am Frightened.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give.
Our benediction is by Fred Lamott. When times are dark, the way becomes clear. Trust in your breath, rest in your heart, bow to the stranger. This is the gospel of astonishment. If we are completely lost, we come home to each other. We take the fire within us and share it with others as we go. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.
When I am frightened, will you